4 league wins in a row and just 1 defeat in 10. Whichever way you look at this, this is promotion form. And this is Blue Monday. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, covering Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. My name is Mikey Penty-Smith, and this is a live match reaction show, but this time 23 hours after the full-time whistle. We're reflecting on Ipswich Town 2, Bristol City 0. Craig Finbow, that was nice and routine, wasn't it?
It was effective, it was efficient, it was professional results, aren't we?
We are indeed, Joe. Just minimal fuss, wasn't it? And that's kind of what we need from a Tuesday night fixture.
Yeah, and similar to Saturday, that goal within the first 10 minutes is always going to be a massive, massive thing at Portman Road for us, because the only way we're really going to drop points is if teams come here, frustrate us, get something, and then we struggle to break them down because the game just turns into nothing. It slows down, it stop start. So getting these early goals is just absolutely vital to how we play, and 2 in a row, and it's great to see.
Lovely stuff. A little bit of news before we get into the nitty gritty of the action, and it's good news, and it's news that we found out after the game had finished, Craig, and that's that Jaden Philogene injury that forced him off against Blackburn on Saturday isn't serious. This is, although as last night proved, we're well stocked in that position. It's maybe not the worst position to lose a player.
Yeah,
no, exactly. Losing a player of that quality, all the same.
No, you're absolutely right, Mike. Of pretty much of all the positions in the team and in the squad, if you have to lose a player for 2, 3, 4 weeks, you would probably say that the guy that's moving into his position would walk into 23 of the 24 teams starting 11s, and as was proven last night, he's not a bad backup to have in place, is he?
No, not at all. One other bit of news, Joe, Mehmeti being linked. Do you see anything in that?
Potentially, yeah. I could see why there's a deal there to be done. He's out of contract in the summer and putting up his sort of best numbers. It's sort of your real equivalent of like a contract season, isn't it? Where someone knows they're up. Think back to like Grant Leadbitter or something like that, and all of a sudden the goals are flying in, assists are flying in, and he's doing really, really well. So I could see why we'd be interested. I think Wolves have been linked with him today as well. Bristol City have said they've got a very good offer on the table for him. But yeah, I'm sure if it's one we want to push ahead with, there is a deal there to be done. And I guess people will have different thoughts on his performance last night, but I actually thought he did okay. A lot of the criticism I'd read about him after he was linked was, he's very inconsistent off the ball. He doesn't work hard. But I thought he worked really, really hard last night. When he got the ball, he looked bright. But ultimately, when you're up against the best defence in the league, who are giving away very, very little, you're not going to have a star match-winning Jamal Campbell-Rice-like performance, are you?
No, not that was match winning, because I think we won that that infamous game against Rotherham about 5-1. The exciting thing about doing this show a day later and on a Wednesday night is that one of our promotion rivals, Craig, are in action, and the comments are going to keep us updated on the scoreline for the next 50 minutes or so. Borough 1-0 down. According to Norman Greenwood. Yeah, just keep the good news coming, though. Let's not have any Middlesbrough goals.
No, like Lionel Messi, it doesn't seem they can handle a cold, wet night in Stoke at the moment. So we'll see.
Yeah,
you can keep the Borough spoilers coming, but don't keep the traitors spoilers coming. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah, shout out to everyone that's chosen Blue Monday tonight ahead of EFL action, Champions League action, and the traitors. Of course, all of those things are available to watch after the fact. Whereas this is so much better live, isn't it? Right, let's talk about last night. 4 changes. 4 used to be quite a small number of changes for a midweek game. Burns comes in for his first start since returning from injury. Kiyusti comes in midfield. Clarke replaces Jaden Philogene, who was injured, and Athon comes in up front. No surprises here, Joe?
No, I think well, we all knew Philogene wasn't going to be in there, so that was an obvious one. Hurst had been out for like a month, so you wouldn't expect him to sort of go Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday starting. So I think everyone knew he would go out of the team. Taylor could just tend to share the minutes in there, and I think Valiegali's sort of hitting a little bit of a sort of winter wall at the moment, his first season in England. And I guess for me, the only question was whether was that going to be Casey McAteer or Wes Burns starting on that right side, and it was Wes with his first start. I think it was January the 25th, his last start against Liverpool, and yeah, sort of 5 days short of a year, he's back in league action for us, and great to see.
Brilliant. Craig, it just looks right, doesn't it? A Tuesday night under the lights and Wes Burn hugging that right touchline.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it actually helped Furlong at right back having a right, for some reason, it just looked balanced. It looked right. Furlong looked at home with a right footer ahead of him. And certainly from a first half perspective, Burns sort of hit the ground running very fast, and gave Borgia a bit of a torrid time, certainly in that first 45 minutes.
And this is the Bristol City team. VTech on loan from Manchester United. Tanner, Dickey, Atkinson, Sykes, Finer, Randell, Borge, Mehmeti, Twine, and Reese. 3-4-3 can be awkward to play against, Joe, especially. They were trying to double up on our wide players a lot of the time, weren't they?
Yeah, and you could see that sort of Darnell Furlong, especially on the right-hand side, had a real big job to do, because he would sort of drift inside and Mehmeti was just sitting himself right out on the line, or Borges was, and he really had to be sort of careful with it, those crossfield balls, and he just dealt with them all really, really well. In effect, the sort of big questions for Bristol City were in central midfield. Obviously, we knew Sam Morsey might be playing because we played at the weekend. We didn't know whether he'd have sort of 2 games in succession in him. Jason Knight had missed that game with a knock, and he's a player. I think last season, I don't think he missed a minute of football in the whole year. So you know if he's even close to being fit, he's going to be playing. So it's sort of seeing what was going to happen there, and it turned out it was Zach Viner in there, which he's been quite a versatile player for them. But I thought he was really, really good at Ashton Gate in that central midfield role as well, and it started pretty well here, to be fair.
Mm. That was a difficult night, that one at Ashton Gate, and I think that might have been Athon's first start, and he struggled in that one. But we're going to mention his name a few times here, Craig. But first of all, so many of our home games this season have seen a first half goal where Jaden Philogene drifts in from the left touchline, drifts past another player and bends it into that far corner. Always seems to happen in the first half in front of the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand. Talk us through what happened with Jack Clarke at the ball at his feet.
Well, to be fair to Bristol City, they started pretty lively. I think both the first 10 minutes of both halves, they started pretty lively. And at the end of the first 10 minutes of both halves, we happened to score both of our goals. And it was the build up to the game. Build up to the goal. Azon had won a header, as he tended to do most of the game, to be fair, and he headed it out to Clarke, and Clarke had Dickey one-on-one on the halfway line and sort of fluffed his lines a little bit. And where I was, we're like looking at each other thinking, crikey, if only he just managed to get it past Dickey, he had half the length of the pitch to run into.
Yeah, took a really heavy touch, didn't he?
Yeah, as it happened, that sort of led to the goal. The ball was cleared, Davis won a header, Clarke then won a bit of a header, and it fell to Cayuste on the halfway line, or in around the centre circle. And as he tends to do sporadically during matches, he twisted and turned. I think he turned Randall in and around the centre circle, fed Clarke, and then it's a strange one because everybody knows what Jaden Philogene's going to do with the ball. Everybody knows what Jack Clarke's going to do with the ball. Everyone knew what Ian Robin was going to do with the ball, I suppose, on a slightly different scale.
Mahrez.
Well, quite, but. And I watched the Bristol City wash up, if you like. Leroy Rosinia was on there, the Bristol City TV, and they were saying, well, Tanner didn't do a great job. He didn't show him down the line. He sort of tried to show him down the line, but he didn't. His body position wasn't right, as it transpired, because it was quite easy for Clarke to just drift in on his right and stick away in that bottom corner. It wasn't quite as emphatic as some of Jaden Philogene's finishes. It made its way into the bottom corner. You may argue that VTech could have done better. Looking it back, he might have done better. Certainly, looking at what he did about half an hour later, you think he may have done better with stopping it going in. But yeah, it's to Joe's point. It's a great start, and just that getting that goal in the early stages of the game just takes the pressure off. We know where we are. We can then start playing the game at our rhythm, can't we?
And we were playing with a little bit of a swagger at this stage as well, Joe. Like not every move from midfield came off, but we always looked capable of going through an extra gear, didn't we?
Yeah, Nunes was sort of getting into nice positions, landing on the ball in lovely positions and playing the early passes, getting Wes Burns involved, getting Jens Kust involved, Jack Clarke down that side. We had one where sort of Burns hits a brilliant crossfield ball to Azon, and Leif Davis flies past him. He comes in and takes a shot. There was another time where Davis was flying past Clarke and he came inside. I think could have found him, and it was sort of full sort of throttle to the floor, really, wasn't it? When we were attacking, when we got the ball, there's a couple of times where it broke down on the right hand side where Furlong tried that inside ball that worked so well against Blackburn on Saturday. He kept doing that, and I think 3 or 4 times they got cut out doing that. But really, we were just, without really breaking sweat, just running all over them when we had the ball, when we wanted to. And we just looked at it from the point whenever we lost the ball, we just swarm around and to get it back. And yeah, it was a really just a good half of football. And the sort of half where when you looked at sort of Leeds and Burnley last year, the way they played at home, where they just from the second half, so just basically just won every home game, didn't they?
Yeah, although we did start strongly and we did look dangerous in possession. We were a little bit sloppy at times, playing out from the back. Kipre got dispossessed by Twine in a really dangerous position, and Reese, who punished us in a Preston shirt, didn't he, up in Deepdale a couple of years ago? Similar situation. So this time he was up against Walton, and O'Shea did Walton save that, or did O'Shea block it? Every time I've looked at it, I can't quite work that one out.
Yeah, I think Walton got
it's a let off,
whichever
way you look at it.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was Reese's first touch. Really, it was a poor first time ball back from Kipre, wasn't it? Which was unlike him in the last 2 or 3 months, really. And it was Reese's first touch took him onto his left foot and sort of away from goal, didn't it? And by that time, 2 defenders had come across, and Walton had sort of set himself to get back and to block it.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat some of the chances that you've mentioned, Joe, just to keep things chronological. Burns, as you say, fantastic switch of play. Not really something that he's known for, that sort of play, but switches a lovely ball over, and Athon drives towards goal as a good centre forward does, and nothing quite opens up for him. And I think he decides last minute he's going to have a dig because the ball's really underneath his feet. But he picks out a lovely curling shot just over the top of the crossbar. We haven't mentioned Sam Morsey yet. He was left on the Bristol City bench. He finds his way onto the pitch. What was the reception like for him, Craig? Returning hero, of course.
Yeah, well, he was warming up. Obviously, before he came on, he was warming up, and he got a really good ovation from the North Stand as he was like trotting down towards them, and it was very reciprocal. As he was coming out before the start of the game, obviously the players make their way onto the pitch and the subs make their way along the touchline, and he high-fived all of the kids who were holding the flags as the players are coming out. He high-fived all of those as he was walking along the touchline, and as he was warming up, he was getting a great ovation or a great reception from the North Stand. And I think when he came on, he got standing. I haven't seen that very often, if ever, a player getting a standing ovation coming onto the pitch, an opponent player getting a standing ovation coming onto the pitch. And I think very similar, it had echoes of that Billy Sharp goal. You remember the years and years ago when Billy Sharp scored? He had a horrific time personally. He scored a goal. He got a round of applause for scoring that goal under the circumstances. It just had that atmosphere about it. I think for the crowd, fair play to everyone in Portmore. I think we got exactly right. The sentiment was spot on in that. Appreciate everything you've done. Thank you for that. The game's now happening. We'll cheer you when you get yellow carded for hauling Nunes around the centre circle. We'll berate you when you have a shot from 30 yards, which goes ridiculously wide. But I think as a crowd and as intent, I think we got that absolutely spot on.
Lovely stuff. And Morsley makes a immediate impact for us because we have our best move of the night down the right side. Furlong, Nunes and Burns combined brilliantly. Joe, do you want to talk us through this one? We don't normally talk through chances, but this one's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so Furlong plays the ball into Nunes, and Nunes, like I say, just drifts into a lovely area and just takes a first-time touch, and Burns is just got the afterburners on, flies past Borgs, as we've seen him do loads and loads of times, gets his head up, pulls a perfect ball back, and Jens Kjus comes in. He sort of scuffs the shot, really, doesn't it? And it gets blocked, and then it hits Jack Clarke, and it falls to Azon, and the goalie's on the floor. All you got to do is just put it on target, which he does, and somehow Vitek makes a save. And I'd say I've criticised Azon's finishing a lot in this podcast but I don't think he really does anything wrong here. I think it's one of those ones where if you hit that along the floor, you've got a defender on the line, sort of down, you've got the goalie on the floor, you have more chance of hitting someone. But you hit that high anywhere in the goal and it's going in, but for a fantastic reaction save from Vitek, he just sort of, he just throws an arm up and it hits him, doesn't it? Like it's a brilliant save, but it's as much luck than judgment, isn't it? He earns himself the luck by getting up so sharply and throwing something up there. But yeah, it's a fantastic save, and felt really, really sorry for Azon because he has missed so many chances for us this year, and and a lot of them he's done everything right. I think you look at I think he's now ahead of Hurst. He's got 12 big chances missed in the league, but you look at his XG is like 6.5, and I think he's like on target is like 6. So it's not like he's having these great chances of missing the target. He's putting them where they need to be, but he's being denied by a fantastic save there. I think the Wrexham keeper and the 0-0 made a fantastic save to deny him there, or the Watford keeper did as well previously. And I don't know, it's just very, very frustrating for him because it would have rounded off an excellent half, and probably his best half in an Ipswich shirt.
Yeah, it might seem like a contradiction, really, but these are good signs for him, aren't they, Craig? Even though he hasn't put the ball away from 3 yards, it might sound ridiculous, but he's getting good chances every game.
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't know what the Spanish is for rabbit's foot or four-leaf clover, but he needs to acquire one of these and stick it in his Louis Vuitton wash bag for the next game. But to Joe's point, he didn't do anything wrong. And again, he's had chances where he's hit balls across the keeper and it's hit the far post and bounced out. And yesterday, it was an all-round great performance for a guy who's not particularly large. He was winning his headers. He was winning the battle against his two centre-halves. But just to take it back a little step further, the flick from Nunes through to Burns, that little glance through to Burns, if you were saying about Eggly sort of hitting a bit of a maybe a midwinter slump, Eggly's not making that run, is he? Burns is making that run. Burns understands what Kieran McKenna needs from his right-footed right winger in those circumstances. It might be a job that McAteer can do in the future. They're similar-ish sort of players in that they're pace. But if you want a ball played into Wes Burns, it's not to Wes Burns' feet. It's inside that left back in acres of space for him to move into. And then, to Joe's point, he can get his head up, and he picked out Kiyusta, I think it was, whose initial shot got blocked. But yeah, I think it had echoes of a Václav Hladký save, didn't it, in our promotion season, that an arm comes from nowhere and just deflects the ball over the goal. It was over the goal. It was a great save, but yeah, nothing that Azon could do because it was just a split second chance which he'd got on target.
Yeah, and probably good sign as well to see Kiyusta making that run into the box, timed, but his finishing probably does leave a little bit to be desired. But yeah, strong first half. That 1-0 up, no changes at half time. Early on in the second half, Mehmeti, we've already spoken about, has a shot from distance beaten away by Christian Walton, who just looks so comfortable all night. On 55 minutes, Joe, we double our money with yet another goal from the left wing position.
Yeah, so I can't remember, but someone basically just hooks a ball forward, sort of not aimlessly, but
O'Shea won the header.
Oh, so Shea's header that sort of just goes forward, and Azon goes up and he puts Dickey under pressure. And Dickey, I guess he's got to do better. And the ball is sort of past him, so he tries to head it, sort of tries to use his neck and sort of head the ball out for a throw or sort of back that way, but he doesn't get enough on it, and it sort of loops up, and Azon just runs in behind him. And it's an excellent first touch because it's coming down from a big height. He takes the ball down. Is in a good position, but there's not really a huge amount on. Jack Clarke's the only player in the box, and he has a look up, puts a sort of perfect ball in, and Jack Clarke is a really, really smart finish. He gets across his man, and he just sort of uses the pace on the ball just to flick it, and it's almost like postage stamp in the bottom corner, really, isn't it? The keeper doesn't dive, but I think they showed it from one of the angles on like Instagram or somewhere today, and you see it, the ball just literally just rolls into that bottom corner, and it's a totally unsavable shot, and Jack Clarke does his. I think Jack Clarke's more used to scoring at the North Stand end because he's normally coming on a sub in the second half and getting his goals there. So it's nice to see him get one at both ends tonight. But yeah, just a really, really good finish from a really, really good player. And yeah, Azon, I think he deserved a goal contribution for all the work he was putting in.
Absolutely. Borges comes pretty close to pulling a goal back. It's probably Bristol City's best effort of the night. Quite a powerful shot with his left foot that flies past the post. On 63, we make our first changes. Taylor comes on for Kiyusti, McAteer on for Burns. Decent night for Wes Burns by all accounts. Craig, sorry.
Yeah, definitely. We got what we know Wes Burns is. Sometimes he looks like a Premier League player. Sometimes his touch lets him down. He doesn't quite look that, but he's getting back to speed. And as I said before at the very beginning, he knows of all of the players on the pitch, he's the one that knows what Kieran McKenna needs from him in certain circumstances, in certain games. And he doesn't need coaching or telling what to do during matches. And he gave, certainly in the first half, he gave Borgia and Atkinson, when he drifted over to the left-hand side, he gave them a torrid time. And it's just good to see, because it may be that we don't know what the Núñez situation is with regards to his injury. It may be that we need Egerli to move inside, but we're talking about our left-hand side being well-stocked in terms of Philogene and Clarke. Now that Wes Burns is back and hopefully firing, we're talking about our right-hand side being well-stocked in that area as well.
So certainly looks that way. Ashley Young comes on as well. Sorry, Athon. Given a huge standing ovation when he's replaced by Hurst. Smodics comes on in place of Núñez, who hurt his ankle. Hopefully not too serious. Didn't look particularly serious when he was doing his fist pump, if you can call it that.
And he didn't go to the change rooms either. He sat down on the bench when he went off. So you hope it's just a knock rather than anything more than that.
Ashley Art comes on for Jack Clarke, puts in a lovely cross in the closing stages, but Hurst wasn't anticipating in the box. Is that a bit harsh, Joe?
I don't think he'd have got there even if he was anticipating, because when you look at it back, because I was sort of right in line with that, and he's quite away from it, and I think it's one of those ones that had he busted a gut to get there, he'd have probably been offside. So it was one where it's quite a difficult one for him. But I say Hurst, we know what Hurst is. He's not that sort of all action goal scoring striker in that regard. So he's probably not who you want on the end of these chances. But yeah, he came on, put in his shift, had a couple of poor touches, which was a shame because I thought he played quite well on Saturday and he didn't really take it into this game. But no, other than that, the subs, Smodics got on the ball. But the game was really over. They weren't really touching us at this point. We were just pretty dominant, showboating, passing some nice balls around, just moving it from A to B to C to D and just getting it around there. And it's just a really, really comfortable, confident performance and built from the back as they have been over this recent run.
That was a really strange thing, Joe, wasn't it? The last 10, 15 minutes, as a Bristol City supporter watching that, they were just so passive, weren't they? They were passing it around the back. They were passing it a lot in their final third, and we are more than happy to let them have it in their final third. There just seemed to be no intent from them in the last 10, considering they were 2-0 down. There wasn't much intent for them to do anything with the ball.
No, I mentioned on the pod on Sunday that they had like Oxford away Saturday, Ipswich away Tuesday, and Sheffield Wednesday at home Saturday. So I guess being 2-0 down with sort of 15, 20 minutes to go, I'm not saying you're chucking the towel in because I'm sure they're still trying, still running, still moving, and hoping something comes off for them. But realistically, it's sort of energy preservation, especially with the issues they've got in central midfield at the moment. So I'd imagine there was an element of just look, let's just get out of it, get back on the bus, and start focusing on Saturday's game.
So yeah, as you say, minimum fuss, and for 24 hours at least, we're in the top 2. Although, if you look at the scoreline at Stoke, we might be staying there for a little while longer. We've had some poor midweek performances this season, Craig, and a whole load of rotation. It feels like every time I've been on with Seb, we haven't had a huge amount to talk about. But it's the fact that we now pretty much have a fully fit squad and have won 4 in a row in this hectic part of the season. Is that vindication, do you think, for all of the squad rotation? Was it done with a view to later on in the season, like just keep these guys fit, and then we can basically make hay while the sun shines? Because every team we play against at the moment seems to be in a real predicament in terms of injuries and suspensions, and we're not.
Yeah, make hay while the snow falls. I suppose that is our superpower, isn't it? It's the fact that we've got strength in depth. It's the fact that we've got Jack Clarke to come in for Jayden Philogene when Jayden Philogene's taken a knock and is out for 2 or 3 weeks. I suppose we've got Wes Burns to come in for Eggerly, who's been in for McAteer. You know, that is our, as I said, that's our superpower, that in these hard yards where we've got a lot of games, a lot of away games coming up, and other teams are looking around, and the Bristol City fans were bemoaning the fact that, to Joe's point earlier, that they're playing players out of position and having to rest Knight and having to rest Morsey and having them both on the bench in these tough games and these tough periods of the season. That could well see us through. Time will tell. You know, speak to me when in August or the first week of September, when I was bemoaning the fact that we hadn't got quite the strength and depth that I thought we needed. Speak to me again in 10 days' time, 11 days' time, and we can probably have a comparison to the other teams when we get to the running, can't we? Because, you know, obviously Coventry have made a couple of loan signings in the first couple of weeks of the transfer window. We've been very quiet, both rumour and people through the door in the first couple of weeks of the transfer window. It'll be interesting to see where things stand in, say, 10, 11 days' time.
Absolutely. Let's hear from our sponsors now before we get into the second half of the show. Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge. Thank you very much to Atwells. Let's take a look at the other results from last night. Sorry, Joe, I'm covering you up here. Craig, what jumps out at you there?
Well, I suppose it's Coventry, and they've had two ones at home, haven't they, in the last, well, since Saturday and midweek. 6 points from 2 home games. They sort of just checked their stutter, as it was. Their home form is, well, it's ridiculous, as we know. You know, we're the only team that have beaten them, aren't we? They're averaging 2.5 points per home game, which is pretty ridiculous. We're not too far behind them, to be fair. Hull, obviously, again, are they the dark horses, dark tigers? That's a very, very good result for Hull away at Preston. Although I think Hull have got one of the best away forms in the league so far. I suppose it's just those two really. Albeit that Borough are playing tonight, I think glancing over your shoulder, you're probably looking at Hull and just hoping that Coventry can slip up. Although they've got a bit of a gap against us at the moment.
And Joe, are we going to talk about Norwich?
Well, it's a fantastic result for them, isn't it? And it's a very, very worrying start for the new West Brom boss. He's come in and has lost back-to-back home games, and they've lost 11 in a row away from home at the moment as well. So he's got a huge amount of work to do there, Eric Ramsey. So it could sort of be over before it's begun for them, because they look as like bang in trouble. You look at the shot count, I think West Brom had 13 to Norwich's 9, but that clinicalness, and I say, as fun as it's been seeing Norwich in the bottom 3, I think they've clawed themselves out of it now, and I doubt they'll end up back in there now. Which is a shame, but yeah, fantastic result for them.
We won't do the table because that can change tonight, but yeah.
But then, sorry, there's a comment in the chat, Mikey, about Coventry got to play Norwich at the weekend. So you just never know, do you? Yeah, exactly that.
And it's funny because when you look at the table, it's quite compressed. Like Hull are not many sort of 3 points back, aren't they? And things like that. But when you look at the bookies odds, it's Coventry for like the top 2. Coventry are like nailed on almost. We're pushing them for second, and then Middlesbrough third. And I think Middlesbrough are like 6-4, and next highest is Hull, who are like 18-1, and then below them is Millwall, who are like 22-1. So it is very, very much billed as a 2 from 3. And I think if results stay as they are tonight, that will really help us at the moment, because it's starting to look like we are the side that just looks totally in control of each game. And where this time, when we were in this division 2 years ago, we were the side that were just having to pull results out of nowhere, get the late wins, doing that. Where at the moment we just sort of like that sort of metronome, just sort of going through there, winning each game. But that'll obviously be tested in February. But if we come out of that month of February with 4 away games as in the top 2 at the end of that, I think it's going to be sort of curtains for anyone else trying to catch us.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone who's getting their comments in the chat. If you want to get a question in, now's a good time. There's a very good chance that it's going to get read out tonight. Craig, have Ipswich ever been in this situation before, where we're the big fish? That I suppose maybe in the league, in League One, never really felt like that though, did it? Always
we were
felt
chasing,
like we weren't going to do it.
Yeah. Well, we're chasing again now, aren't we? I suppose, but it's just it's a different atmosphere, isn't it? It's a different feeling around the club. I don't know whether it's to the point we just made there about late last minute or late winners. That was us 2 years ago, or even 3 years ago. We were always the ones that were just kept going and grabbing results out of nowhere. Whereas now, it just looks a bit more methodical, professional, effective, efficient. As I said earlier, whatever adjective you want to use, there's just a confidence, certainly within the team and the squad, it would appear, and maybe throughout the fan base, there's that as well. I think it sort of splits at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of comments about the fact that it's not entertaining. We're not going at teams. We're not putting teams to the sword. We're not pulling teams apart. Well, no, but are we just doing enough? Are we expanding the least amount of energy required to win these games? And we're utilizing our squad in the most efficient way to just get 3 points and get 3 points and get 3 points. And that will, to your point earlier, Mikey, about use of squad, maybe that will see us come good come the tail end of the season.
Are we the baddies, Joe?
Well, I guess so in that regard. We're the least exciting story if you look at Middlesbrough and Coventry. They're teams that haven't been in the Premier League for a long time in Coventry's case, and quite a number of years in Middlesbrough's case. But I think this year, I don't know exactly why, but it does seem that the team that scores first in the Championship this year is very rarely losing the game. I think Middlesbrough have got a record now where if they've scored the first goal in the game, they've won every single one of those games. So they haven't done that tonight, but I think Nick in the Telegram is counting. I think there's been 42 Championship games in 2026, and there's not been a single one where someone has won from letting in the first goal of the game. So I think since that Charlton game, we have really, really tightened up at the back. It's sort of, I think Christian Walton, he's been fantastic, but he's also been a benefactor and changed the style of how we've played. Darnell Furlong's really come into his own, I think, in this period. But Christian Walton's now kept 9 clean sheets in 17 starts. He's only letting 11 goals in those 17 games. And and that 9 clean sheets, there's no one in the league who's kept more clean sheets than him. Carl Rushworth has kept 9 as well, but that's 9 in 27 games. Christian Walton's done it in 17 games. So if you're not letting in a goal every other game, you're in a fantastic position. And even when we went on that fantastic run in League One where we won 14 out of 15, I think like 13 of those 14 wins or 12 of those 14 wins were to nil. We just shut up totally at the back, and we're in that position again. Yeah, we will concede chances, but like the Blackburn game, I think they had 1 shot in the box that wasn't blocked on Saturday, went wide. Last night, they obviously Reece had the chance when we gave the ball away, but even you see how much it means to the players to get back, because obviously the keeper's going down, Walton's going down to save it, but Kipre and O'Shea are in front of it as well, and you've got 2 players putting their bodies on the line, busting their gut just to get back, just to try and make a block on that shot, and that's how we've been defending for a long term now. So we're just really in a really, really good position. And like I say, if we can keep this defensive record up between now and May, we'll be promoted.
And to the point of Carl Rushworth, is Carl Rushworth's clean sheet and goalkeeping stats are by virtue of him throwing himself left, right, and centre and saving goals that he doesn't necessarily need to save, whereas Christian Walton's goalkeeping stats are more, you would say, rudimentary, standard saves. Like he's not having to pull off Gordon Banks type saves to keep his clean sheet stats, is he?
But when he's needed to, he has done as well, like the Coventry game.
Yeah, of course.
He's made the big saves when he needs to. But yeah, Rushworth has been very, very busy. I think there's a stat doing the rounds, whether it's on here or somewhere else, that the sort of Meslier, the Leeds keeper last year, made less saves in the season than Rushworth did in the sort of first half of the season. He made. So they're not.
I think Leeds fans would say that's because Meslier was throwing everything that went his way into the net. But it's a good point.
Yeah, but Leeds still they didn't concede a lot of goals. They conceded less goals than Coventry, and he'd had he's had like a full season's worth of shots at the top. But Middlesbrough scored by the looks of things as well. So
okay. Neil Wilmore says, we're defending better. Maybe we'll go up and not look as vulnerable at the back this time. Craig, is he reaching a little bit, or could there be something in that?
No, I think there's definitely something in that, to Neil's point. There's a reason why we've taken a long-term view about how we're setting up and how we're playing, with more than 1.5 eyes on next season should we happen to go up. We're not going to be able to play gung-ho like we did 2 years ago in our promotion season in the Premier League. I would imagine there's very much a thought that let's get everyone well versed in how we'd like to play should the best happen and we get promoted next year. Let's be solid first and foremost. Let's be solid at the back. And I think, to be fair to the teams that have gone up this year from the Championship last year, they've got a pretty solid base. Well, 2 of the 3 of them got a pretty solid base.
Although the defensive team that went up last season are the team that's struggling the most.
Good point. Good point.
But we'll see.
Without being sort of too datary on that was a sort of season from the ages from James Trafford as well. When you actually looked at the defensive stats, Leeds were actually a better defensive team than them, but James Trafford just put in a unbelievable goalkeeping season where he was just making save after save when he needed to.
A Carl Rushworth season.
Rushworth of last season. Sure.
There you go.
Joe can always find the positivity. Can we count on Norwich to give Coventry a battering this weekend? I don't think we can ever rely on them for anything, can we?
No, but I guess we're in the position now where if they are pulling away from relegation, taking some points of our rivals would be quite handy. I'd imagine the derby is picking up even greater significance for them over the coming weeks if they're going to be marooned in mid-table. But maybe last night was a flash in the pan and all of a sudden they'll drop back into it. But it doesn't feel like that when you see them compared to the other sides down there.
Yeah. Let's move on from that. Michael Warner, who will play in the 10 if Nunes is out this weekend, Craig? And there's a high possibility. Could Kiyusti play that? I can't see that. I think it'd probably be Smodix, wouldn't it?
You would have thought Smodic. You would have thought, well, last night Jack Taylor played there, didn't he? Once we'd started making the subs and bits and pieces, when Ashley Young moved into centre midfield alongside Matasiwa, it was Jack Taylor that moved into that number 10. Well, nominally number 10 role as we were looking to close the game down. But yeah, I think you're right, Mike. I think it'll be Smodic more than anyone else. Kiyuste's never played there so far, has he? As I understand it, since he's been with us.
And we're short in central midfield anyway, aren't we?
Yes, exactly that. And it's Nunes is only playing there by virtue of Akpom and Smodic. Well, Smodic being injured and Akpom not really tearing it up there, isn't he? So yeah, it's hopefully it won't be a thing. Kieran McKenna was saying that Nunes' knock might be a knock rather than anything more serious. It might be that he might struggle for the weekend, but yeah, Smodic, you would think, having been fed into the last 2 or 3 matches from the bench.
Joe, could Furlong still receive a retrospective red for the perceived dangerous challenge on Saturday? Asked Vince.
I don't know is the honest answer, but it would seem crazy that they haven't managed to look at it within 2 days. So you'd assume not, but yeah, I don't know for sure.
Paul Carr's already looking ahead to the summer. Now we're in the automatic places for now. How many of the current squad would you keep if we went up, Craig? Personally, he says, I don't think there are many who could survive there. More or less than last time.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's always going to be the issue, isn't it? You need to build a squad to get. First and foremost, you need to build a squad and a team to get you promoted, and then worry about the consequences afterwards. And as we found out when we were in the Premier League last time, to Paul's point, it was the physicality, wasn't it? It was the size and physicality of the players that it struck me more than anything else. And looking at a team last night, I didn't think there was a huge amount of difference in terms of physicality and size and pace to the team that went up last time. Really, how ruthless you will be in the summer. Maybe that will be it. Is that we will be more ruthless in the summer and say thanks to those guys that got us promoted. Fingers crossed, and look to rebuild from scratch with more physical, pacier players than we've got currently. But I think first and foremost, you just need to concentrate on the here and now in the next 5 or 6 months of the season, or 5 months of the season, don't you?
Going to move on to completely change of pace. Great answer there, Craig. Sorry, I'm already looking ahead to the next question. Joe, should we give up our long throws, not getting any goals from them? Is it just about trying to force a bit of momentum and try and set up more set pieces by doing long throws? Because it doesn't look like we have a set play, as it were, when we're launching them into the box.
Yeah, it's it does build a bit of pressure, doesn't it? Builds a bit, the crowd get up for a little bit there. And I think also the key is it sort of allows you to be set in your sort of off-ball formation. You can sort of have a go at that, then also be set to try and pick up second balls and move it about from there. So I'm sure there's enough to it that makes it worthwhile to keeping the ball in there, trying to win stuff like that and just mixing it up sometimes.
And Mabby asks, is it worth trying Egley in the 10 and keeping Burns on the right? Could be something.
Yeah, whether Wes Burns can handle from a fitness perspective 2 games starting Tuesday, Saturday. There's no reason from a performance perspective to drop Wes Burns. But as you were saying earlier about the squad depth, you've got, McAteer did okay, didn't he, when he came on last night? He's certainly from a harrying and impetus and intensity perspective, he was absolutely fine. He got a couple of decent balls in. He might be one of the ones that makes a bit of progression in the next 4 or 5 months of the season, mightn't he? Egley, I don't know. I don't know whether he's quite as nuanced and subtle to play that number 10 role as we currently like to play it. I think Nunes seems to have made it his own role, and he's sort of playing in his own style at the moment, isn't he? He's playing it in a different way to any of our number 10s have played it so far, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely progressing in that position, and it's kind of hard picturing him playing further back now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
A question on another of our midfielders. Given he's reached 100 appearances for Town, Joe, how do you assess Jack Taylor's time here? His stock's probably never been higher, has it?
No, it's strange, isn't it? Because I think when we signed him for the Championship season, I'd imagine most of us probably expected Sam Morsey and him to form the partnership there. But Massimo Luongo was just so good and just kept him out of the team the whole season. But he always did well when he came in. It took him a little while to learn to play sort of in that deeper role. I think he'd been used to sort of a freer role at Peterborough, just trying to land on the ball in nice areas and do things, where he sort of learned a discipline. He's done really well with Republic of Ireland in this time. He's moved on that side. Played a fair bit in the Premier League as well last year, even by virtue of just being fit all season as well. And towards the end of the season, when we were basically already down, he started quite a number of games there, but was also a regular sub being used. So he got a lot of minutes in that regard, probably more than you'd expect, and then came down to this league. And then he signed that new contract, didn't he? We were a little bit surprised, but it sort of protects his value, international player, good age. And then he's come in the team and done really, really well when he has come in the team this year. And I think him and could just offer a sort of nice sort of horses for courses difference between them. When you need a little bit more grit in there, Jack Taylor's your man. And when you need someone, when you're going to get a bit more of the ball in transition, you get Jens Kajust on there. But I think he's turned into, like as Colin says, they're a very good Championship player. And I'd imagine he's one that if we wanted to cash in, we'd probably triple, 4 times what we paid for him in there, because he's going to have a decent value. And hopefully he gets a good chance in the March playoffs and gets to a World Cup in the summer as well, which will help even more.
Yeah. What I like about, or one of the things I like about Taylor, Craig, is that he can make an impact off the bench as well. If you're leading, or you just need a little bit more bite and energy in midfield, like he's made a difference coming off the bench in the past, but he also fits our current system really well from the start.
Yeah, and to Joe's point there, we brought him in as a certain type of midfielder, thinking he was more of a box to box, breaking into the box, scoring goals. But he has, and this is of a great benefit to him. He has come in and he's learnt a different role, and he's learnt to be a bit more disciplined and be that tough tackler, or more of an all-action midfielder. And we haven't, he's keeping a Swedish international out of the team in some games, which is only to good for him, isn't it? He's come from Peterborough, he's played in the Premier League, he's scored in the Premier League, and he's not, to Joe's point, he's an international Republic of Ireland midfielder now, and he hasn't looked out of place. And it's of a benefit to us, because has it therefore lessened the need to get another central midfielder in quite as urgently as we thought it may have done? Possibly. Wouldn't mind another one in there in the next couple of weeks, but it lessens the need to have one in there, I think.
Brilliant. Right, we've got plenty more shows coming your way. We had a game on Tuesday night, a live reaction show on a Wednesday. Tomorrow night is the match rewind for top tier subscribers. Craig, are you going to talk about
Middlesbrough just scored? That's the problem.
Middlesbrough have scored. Okay,
Don't detract from the. Don't
Sorry,
detract from my promo of the rewind show.
Not even going to be able to talk about the rewind show now, Craig, because when we did, Middlesbrough scored. So, no, go on. Tell us what we're going to hear about in
if you're a subscriber to Top Tier, you will hear about the death of Mark Bolan and who was driving the Mini when it crashed into the tree in South London. So, if nothing else, we may speak about Sheffield United away games from the past, but more importantly, you'll hear about Noddy Holder and Mark Bolan and glam rock from the early 70s.
The 20th century boys are keeping their references up to date there.
Yeah, fantastic. At 8:00, there will be a more forensic look at Sheffield United from Rich and Seb. They'll be going live on our YouTube channel at 8:00 on Friday, again on Top Tier. Henry and George will be doing the weekend preview, and then Sunday will be the flagship show, as always, reflecting on another routine victory, no doubt, at Sheffield United. Joe, are you confident going up to Bramall Lane?
Quite confident. Well, more confident with the two suspensions that they've got. Smore and Tanganga. I think they're good there. They're currently losing 1-0 down in Southampton. But yeah, a Chris Wilder side is going to be good in this league, don't you? So it's not going to be an easy one, but I think hopefully catch them at the right time.
Brilliant. Craig, you heading up to Yorkshire?
I'm not. It's my daughter's 16th birthday on Saturday, and I was having a chat with Sean earlier from the Telegram group about whether we are or aren't going. And either side, if the game had been moved to the Friday night, the game had moved to the Sunday, I'd have been okay. But they're both clashing on the Saturday, so sadly not. I won't be there.
Sweet 16. Hopefully the sweet taste of victory for Ipswich Town up in Yorkshire on Saturday afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us, and see you next time.